Hello.
I think we're live.
We are live.
We always do this.
We always do this. It's my
we need a better way
favourite
of doing this.
I like to do the little lookity-lookity.
Yeah,
It's my favourite thing.
Are they there?
Yeah.
Are they there? Oh, is this on? Is this on? Yeah.
Oh, hi there. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Tech Radar. I'm Andrew.
Hi, I'm James.
And today we are going to be talking about a few different things, but primarily about wearables.
Yep. Watches, but not these types of watches.
No, not these types of watches either. Not invisible watches.
No invisible watches.
We are talking about...
We're talking about Android watches. We're talking about Wear OS in general. Can't say Android anymore, not allowed to say that. We're talking about Google-made watches, basically, and potentially the proper Google-made watch, the rumours of the Google Pixel Watch. So if you've got any questions about Wear OS in general, what the change is between Wear OS and Android Wear, we're going to cover that a little bit. And we're also going to talk about the device, well, 3 devices actually. Oh, spoiler there for you. Yeah, the 3 devices which are rumoured to be the Google Pixel Watch. If you've got any questions about that, or smartwatches in general, put them in the comments. Even if you've got questions about life, put them in as well. We'll try our best with them, but we're going to do really well with smartwatch questions.
Yeah, smartwatch questions would probably be better.
Rather than like dating advice or anything. We're not great at that. So
I'd take a punt. Married. Success story.
That's a wearable.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, if at any point you want to pop anything in the chat room, you do that. We'll shout you out. Otherwise, we'll just get started.
Yeah, cool.
So, talk to me. Wear OS, Android OS.
Yeah.
What?
Okay, so there was Android Wear before.
Yes.
And at the start of this year, well, not the start of this year, about February kind of time, Google announced that Wear OS was taking over from Android Wear.
Okay, so is it a change in name only?
Change in name only so far.
Okay.
So, Android Wear 2.0 was the software released in, I think, April 2017. Might have been a little bit earlier when it was actually teased and announced. And it's pretty much exactly the same. Wear OS is pretty much exactly the same, just a complete rebrand. So you get rid of, like, when you start up your Android Wear watch, your Wear OS watch, it will now say Wear OS instead of Android Wear. The app on your phone says Wear OS instead of Android Wear. The whole reasoning behind that is because that Google realised that a third of Android Wear users, Android Wear watch users, were on iPhone.
Okay.
A third. Pretty big amount.
That is significant, yeah.
As soon as you say the word Android to an iPhone fan, they switch off straight away, and they're like, "Oh, there is not that's not going to be compatible with my phone."
Yeah.
So the whole idea here is that Wear OS, it will work across both devices, exactly the same as Android Wear did, really.
Yeah.
But it's a rebrand to basically bring in more iPhone fans.
So am I right in thinking that if you want to use an Apple Watch with an Android phone, it's not quite as...
It's not exactly the same experience, but it's pretty much there now. It's very, very close. There are a few different things that you can't do. For example, some watches you can't use Google Pay on if you're using it on an iPhone, but most of them you can if they do have Google Pay. Oh,
okay. So I was asking about the other way around. So if you've got... So Android Watch on an iPhone works quite well. Not 100%, but works quite well. If you've got it the other way around, that you've got an Apple Watch, presumably you'll have an iPhone and nothing else.
Yeah, you can only use Apple Watch with iPhone.
Yeah, right.
So you can't use Apple Watch with an Android device. You can use an Android Wear OS watch with, I'm going to do that for months, Wear OS watch with an iPhone.
Right.
Only works that way around.
Yeah, and so Google seemingly wanted to make sure that people knew that this was a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know if they've done the greatest in messaging that, like to get that message across to the mainstream with actual iPhone fans. But they're doing the best they can really with it. Yeah. But yeah, that's the whole idea behind the rebrand, is just that switch over to say, look, this can work with an iPhone. Don't get put off immediately by the name Android.
Yeah.
But it does make sense that you read the word Android and you go, no, that's not for iPhone, and then you ignore it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there are quite a number of Android watches, Wear OS watches that are out there now, but it looks like Google is going to be creating its own. Is that the...
Yeah. So basically every watch that had Android Wear 2.0 was upgraded to Wear OS immediately.
Okay.
Within the first few weeks anyway, at least. That software is pretty much rolled out to all of the watches now that we're going to get it. And then the rumour is that upcoming devices will have Wear OS on. We haven't found out any of the features that are coming to Wear OS really yet. There's a new battery mode that we found out a little bit about Google I/O, but that's pretty much it. And we're expecting to hear a lot more about what Wear OS will actually bring in the future. Google Pixel Watch, though, is the main rumour. So October,
Okay.
is when we're kind of thinking that we're going to hear the first word of it from a couple of different leaks. One of them was from EV Leaks. There's been a few different leaks so far now, and EV Leaks himself heard that a Google Pixel Watch will launch alongside the Pixel 3.
Okay.
And a new pair of Pixel Buds headphones.
Yeah.
And that's a Pixel 3 XL as well. There will be 2 phones. And that came at last year's October event. The Pixel 2 did. So we think this year's October event will come with
It's going to be a yearly refresh for the Pixel. And then,
and there'll be a Pixel Watch to go alongside it. That will be the flagship Wear OS watch. And that will be the big name one that if you want the raw experience like you get from a Google Pixel phone and you want that for Wear OS, you want to get the Google Pixel Watch. Another rumour though, and I can't remember the exact source for it at the moment, but it's in our full article on Tech Radar if you just put in Google Pixel Watch. They have found out that there are 3 different devices that will be under the Google Pixel Watch banner.
Okay.
So instead of it being one Google Pixel Watch, there are 3 that are in development. They've all got fish, sea creature kind of code names at the moment, which suggests it is actually a Google device because all of their code names are always some kind of marine animal, if not like Zeus or whatever.
Yeah.
Wait, not Zeus. But the rumour is that there's going to be 3 of these smartwatches. Personally, I don't think there's going to be a massive difference between them. I think it would be a similar way to, say, the Apple Watch 3, where you've got Apple Watch 3 non-LTE and you've got Apple Watch 3 LTE.
Yeah.
I think it would be that kind of difference. I don't think these are going to be groundbreaking differences. But that said, it could be similar to Android Wear 2.0. When that was announced, they had the LG Watch Sport and the LG Watch Star, which were very vastly different watches that were the headline features of the software. The headline devices that showed off the software. So maybe they go for a similar route to that.
That's the thing that I was going to ask, because if there's 3 devices, we've got a few comments that are popping in, but I'm just going to ask this first. So it feels like if there are 3 watches, then obviously more features, fewer features, and sport would be the
potentially. As I say, I think these code names are probably a little bit smaller than that. I think it's probably that it's going to be like LTE and that's pretty much it kind of thing. But maybe it will be a completely sporty device, very basic device, and then the high end device, which is literally everything your full package kind of thing.
Yeah, cool.
We won't know for certain until October though.
Tom says hello. Hi Tom.
Hi Tom.
Rishab says, is NFC built in Google Pixel Watch for payment? So we won't know yet, will we? Because it's still super early leaks.
Yeah, so far we've seen about 3 different leaks about the Google Pixel Watch. It's really, really early days. My expert opinion would be that it would come with NFC, because Google Pay is such a big deal for Google at the moment. If they didn't put NFC into at least one of the variants of the watch, it would be a really strange move. At the moment, there aren't that many watches that support Google Pay. It's very limited. It's things like the Huawei Watch 2 and, but like, for example, the Tick watches, which we really enjoy on the team, which you're not wearing at the moment, but I know that you really enjoyed at one point, and John on the team also really loves it. It's in their positions 2 and 5 in our best smartwatch guide. Like, we really like those watches. Neither of them have NFC.
Yeah. And that's kind of for them to keep budget, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That, but if there are 3 versions of the Pixel,
one of them's
there's
kind of got to
possibility.
happen, really, I would say. And Google Pay is such a big push for them. Apple Pay's on all of the Apple Watches. To me, I think they will. I think we're going to see NFC, but I can't guarantee it.
Yeah. Tom has asked, will the Pixel Watch be slim? Because I have tiny wrists.
We know nothing on design so far.
But that is the big question, isn't it, really, with wearables? That a lot of the time when I've been... So even with the Tick watch that I really loved, people that weren't in the sort of the tech field would look at it and be like, that is really chunky.
That is chunky,
you kind of forget because you view them in context of each other. But actually, when you put a normal watch back on again, they are super slim in comparison.
But if you compare it to 2 years ago, for example, the top-end smartwatches are much, much slimmer. The Fitbit Ionic that I'm wearing at the moment is actually quite slim. It's still fat for a general watch, but in terms of it being a smartwatch and having this much capabilities, basically, that's quite an impressive size. But I know your namesake on our team, Tom, is really, really into his smaller watches. So I think that's really something a lot of people care about, and maybe that will be one of the design changes that are there. Maybe it will be that there'll be a really slim and a really sleek device that's the lower end Google Pixel Watch, and then the big fatter device with the NFC and the GPS and all that kind of stuff will be the top one. But we don't know right now. This is really early leaks. We can't guarantee anything.
Yeah, I imagine sort of as we get further down the line of adoption of smartwatches, that you will get people that are different users for different use cases. And so if there are people that want a heart rate monitor and want all of the really advanced features that you can get, which is a smartwatch and also a fitness tracker, then cool, you go for that one and it'll be slightly bulkier. Or if you just want a pared back one that looks like a normal watch, that will get to a stage where that'll be a thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of that already, really. Like, there's a couple of like different hybrids and stuff that you can get if you do want the more basic features and you want a slimmer design. But yeah, I see it becoming more and more that split, really.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. So we've got Nitin has asked, do you think the Pixel 2 XL screen is good?
I've not used the Pixel 2 XL screen, so I can't really comment on that.
Cool.
Sorry about that.
Yuva Technology says, hello, Mr. Handsome. So that's nice for you.
Yeah, I don't think that is. I think it's probably you.
Joey's saying some unkind things about Google. Rishab
Joey
has
said Google sucks. Come on.
Rishab has said, is Square Face Watch like Apple Watch or round face? Because they like a round watch.
I don't see them going towards a square face, personally.
Are there any others on the market? I mean, what you're wearing right now?
Yeah,
is
there's the Apple Watch, and then there's the Fitbit watches, which are the Fitbit Ionic and the Fitbit Versa, so they look like that. That's the Fitbit Ionic. The Fitbit Versa is a little bit smaller. Those are kind of all the square watches on the market. I can't think of any right now off the top of my head, apart from those 3 plus how many versions of the Apple Watch are there? Like, there's loads of versions now.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I suppose you probably originally would have thought screens are square and then you make a small one goes on the wrist, but obviously watches are round, and we ended up in that weird stage for a while, didn't we, where everything had the flat tire, which for those of you that don't know, they're like the bottom of the circle of a screen will just have like a flat black bit,
the Moto 360,
which
is
so
the one downside to that watch.
It looked like a flat tire because it was round except for the bottom of it. Just
yeah, it was awful. I'm so glad we're past that now. I don't think they go square. Apple were kind of criticised for going square to start with. Everyone was like, "Why wouldn't you go for a round watch?" I don't think Apple were ever going to go circular. Now, really, they have patented designs that we've seen before that will be a round Apple Watch, but at the moment, it kind of. I wouldn't call it iconic, but it is kind of their design language now, and it does make sense for them. I don't see Google then switching towards that when so many other Wear OS watches are circular. I think we're stick with that.
I was actually really surprised by how much I liked the squareness of the Apple Watch,
because
I used the Apple Watch for our fitness diaries at the beginning of this week. Beginning of this week.
It's been a long week.
It's been a long week.
Back in January.
And I was fully ready to be like, square, but actually it works.
It works really well. And there's loads of different rumours for the Pixel Watch, maybe even like a rotating bezel or something like that, which would work on a circular watch, wouldn't work on a square watch. I'm 80% leaning towards them going with a circular face, but that 20% may make them go and do something completely different, but I'm pretty certain they'll go with circular.
Tom Anderson has asked, what new feature would you like to see in a smartwatch?
What new feature? Well, like something brand new, or something for the Google Pixel Watch?
So I think, and this is purely from a fitness background, that I would really like to see a watch that had the capability to detect from your sweat.
That's literally what I was going to say.
Was it?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I've got context for this in a minute.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I was going to say that from your sweat you could get your blood sugar levels and your hydration levels and all of like your nutrition, and so you can almost to a level work out what your macronutrient balance is from your blood sugar.
That would be brilliant. So there was a rumor last week that Huawei is going to announce another version of its watch. But when I say another version of its watch, I don't mean the Huawei Watch 3. I mean there is a rumour of a Huawei Watch 2 2018 edition, which will come with one extra sensor inside it. 2 extra sensors. I can't remember exactly what the other one's for at the moment. And one of those sensors would be for measuring your sweat levels, basically. Exactly what stats you could get out of that, I don't think it would go into that level that you were just talking about. I think that would probably be too expert right now. It's going to be a few years until we get to that level, but it would be a step towards that kind of thing, and that looks really exciting to me. So maybe that's something the Pixel Watch will embrace.
Maybe. I feel like we are going to eventually be at the stage that lots of people are blue sky hypothesizing about having a wearable tab that you can just have that is like, it sits on your skin and it measures your temperature and your pulse and your sweat levels and all those things. That in order to get there, we have to have the stages of development, and
Totally.
so there will presumably at some point be a smartwatch that can measure all of those things from your sweat. I want it. Matt Swider, if you are a regular reader of the site, you will know that Matt Swider is a member of the team.
Swider's on the chat.
He's on the chat. He was like, I'm going to tune in.
Hi, Matt.
Hey. So he said a few questions. What will the competitors be from LG, from Samsung?
So far we don't know too much about the LG watch. We know that there are rumours at the moment for an LG watch timepiece. So that's the code name for it, at least. It might even be the name that they bring it to market. That's going to be a little bit different to what they've done in the past. So that's going to be a smartwatch with real hands on top.
Okay.
So when your smartwatch dies and you're out on holiday or something, you've forgotten your charger, the watch will continue to tell the time because it's real hands.
Yeah.
But the smartwatch features underneath will be powered down.
Yeah.
And that will last for the rumours at the moment that it would last for a month with the normal real hands feature.
Yeah.
Only about 2 to 3 days on the smartwatch features.
Of course, because the whole stopped clock tells the right time twice a day isn't true if it's electronic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nailed it. That's the rumour for the LG Watch timepiece. Whether that's going to be coming anytime soon, we don't know. We thought we might have seen that Google I/O, but there was no word there in the end. And LG are usually the people who are usually the company that make the flagship watches for Google with the Watch Style and the Watch Sport. So maybe they're going a slightly different tact here. There's also a rumor that they're making the Google Pixel watches as well. That they're actually the manufacturers.
Connection there. I'm gonna have to reconnect.
Okay.
It's okay.
I think our Wi-Fi just went down. It's connecting. And you're back.
Hey, we're back. Sorry about that.
Hi. So we were talking about LG, and there's a rumor that LG might be making the.
Yeah, so sorry if I'm repeating myself here. I'm not sure exactly when our stream cut out then. But the LG Watch timepiece is a device with, it's going to be a smartwatch with real hands over the top of it. So even when the smartwatch powers down, you'll be able to use the real hands to be able to tell the time. Great idea. We've seen it in watches before, like the My Chronos Z Time. It's worked really well on that watch. So yeah, we'd love to see that on an LG watch.
Yeah.
Also, the other rumour is the Google Pixel watch is being produced by LG.
Okay.
So usually Google brings in a company to make its Pixels or make its, especially when it was back in the Nexus devices, they used to bring in a different company each year to make the different device. Probably is going to be LG making the Google Pixel watches. Samsung. Yeah. Matt, so many questions. What are you doing to me? Samsung, at the moment, the rumours, we were expecting Gear S4 to come in around September this year, maybe, because that's the last time they announced the Gear Sport last year. But a trademark last week or 2 weeks ago was filed for the Samsung Galaxy Watch. That is using the Galaxy name for the first time since 2013, if I'm right. And basically, Samsung dropped the Galaxy name from its watches when it dropped Android Wear, and instead it switched to Tizen software. The reintroduction of the Galaxy name suggests that maybe they're going to be switching to Google Wear OS. And we've seen a few different rumours about that and a few different sources saying that it will actually be a Wear OS watch called the Samsung Galaxy Watch. Fingers crossed, it would be really, really interesting to see Samsung dabble back into Android system, basically.
Yeah. And are there any other major competitors that you think are going to be releasing a watch that it's going to be vying for?
Apple Watch 4. Apple Watch 4 is going to be the big
And do we know when Apple Watch 4 is coming?
We don't know. We don't know for certain. I would expect 80% expect again. I would expect it to be September alongside new iPhones, probably like that yearly rotation. We've seen new Apple Watch for 3 years in a row in September. I think we're probably going to get a fourth one this year, and there's a couple of different rumours for that as well. So yeah, I think your main three for this year will probably be, if the Google Pixel Watch happens, Google Pixel Watch, the Apple Watch 4, and whatever this Samsung device is called, which will be the Samsung Galaxy Watch, Samsung Gear S4, or even Samsung Gear Sport 2, but at the moment it looks like it could even be Galaxy Watch.
Cool. We've got one final question from Matt Swider, which is, how amazing is it to work with Matt Swider?
What did I say earlier? 80%? 80% great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. We have got lots of emoticons from Devisetti. Hi there. And Rishab has asked another question. I hear a lot of things like Snapdragon making a new lineup SoC for smartwatch.
Yeah. That's confirmed now. So again, last week there's been so much wearables news over the last couple of weeks. We haven't seen a new chipset inside smartwatches for almost 2 years now. It might even be the 2-year mark now.
Okay.
Currently, a lot of Wear OS smartwatches are using the Snapdragon Wear 2100 chipset. and that, as I say, that's 2-year-old tech. So we're getting way behind the times now. We've seen different chipsets inside each of the Apple Watches. Why aren't Qualcomm keeping up with that? So Qualcomm have announced that they will be announcing a new chipset later this year, rumoured to be the 3100, which will be that next level above, and hopefully means speedier, which we don't need too much of on Wear OS watches, in my opinion, but anything will help. But battery life will be the big thing. Just making it more optimized, making everything there a little bit better for battery life, and hopefully we get to the stage where these watches last for an extra day than what they currently do.
Yeah, that seems like the main thing for me. Whenever I've used any smartwatch, it's always been battery life.
Yeah, and that will be the Google Pixel Watch. Maybe that, but Qualcomm announced that the chipset will be debuting on a flagship watch. Then we heard the rumours of the Google Pixel Watch. So I think probably the Google Pixel Watch in October. We'll hear about the chipset before then, but the first time we actually see it on the watch will probably be then. Maybe we'll see it in some other watches before the end of the year. I think a couple of the fashion brands and stuff will start stepping in. And people need to start adopting that chipset because the other one is so old now. It's not like we can keep using that one for another year or so. We're going to see that a lot, I think.
I'm just thinking about the sort of the impact of the flagship. Because if they were going to use the Pixel Watch as the flagship to launch it, that feels like it's like a big statement. And obviously the Pixel Buds made quite a splash, but in terms of Android phones, the Pixel phones aren't the most popular Android phones.
No, they're kind of that mid-tier in terms of popularity. They're never the most popular, but they are those devices that kind of make that statement for where Android should be, in Google's opinion.
Oh, okay.
So that's exactly what I think this Pixel Watch will be doing. It will be like, this is the main device that shows what this can do. Everyone else can take Wear OS and take it wherever they want. If they want to take it in that fashion element, and you get your brands like Diesel and that kind of stuff doing the different things, or if you take it in the sport angle and do Wear OS, like for example, the Huawei Watch, for example, did lots of sport. But this will be the device that shows everything it can do. Why not debut the new chipset right there? Makes sense, doesn't it?
Cool. Noah has just joined us. Hi, Noah.
Hi, Noah.
Has asked, what are all the rumours? Because I've just joined a few minutes ago. I'm sorry, Noah, but for the sake of everybody else that's been watching the entire time, we're not going to say all of the things again. You can, however, watch the video back once it's finished.
Basically go to Tech Radar and type in Google Pixel Watch. That'll give you the main details that you need to know.
And then Halim has asked, what features do you think will revolutionise the smartwatch? We've touched on already. And then Noah's come back in and said, Halim, Google's design. So he thinks that design is the thing that Google has going for it. Do you think?
I don't know if I necessarily agree there. I don't think that. The Pixels have got nice design, but they're not revolutionary in terms of design. There's been a lot of nicer phones this year that are competing with the Pixel 2 for example, the design on the YP20 or the design on the S9. I think is much nicer than the Pixel 2 personally. But design's such a personal thing that if you really like that kind of look, I think they probably will embrace that similar kind of look on the Pixel Watch. But again, we have no idea so far. There's not even been leaks of what it will look like. We don't even know if it's going to happen, but
from my point of view, it seems like, because I do a lot of the smart home coverage on the site, it feels like so much of Google's drive at the moment in my sector is to do with the intelligence behind everything, to do with the artificial intelligence that they're putting into, so like the Nest Cam and all of the IQ Indoor, IQ Outdoor, the Hello, all of these things, that there's sort of the integration of Google Assistant across everything, and the intelligence that is like the cloud-based intelligence that they're putting into all the different devices is now interlinking, and so you're getting this sort of network of devices that I personally see Wear Watch is becoming part of that, and so the Android Auto, the like having all of the different versions of Assistant in all the different facets of your life, and how they all tie into each other.
And being a controller when you're sat on your sofa at home and you want to use those different smartwatch devices, I think your watch will be that main gateway to that, as well as your phone. But
it's one of the things that really impressed me about the TicWatch was it was one of the first times I've ever had just a comfortable voice integration, that I was able to just hold down the button and go, send a WhatsApp to my wife, and it'd go, what do you want me to say? I'd say it, and it'd go, is this right? And you'd be like, yep, and it'd go. And you go, oh, that's actually what it's supposed to be like. So often you have these things where you're like, send a WhatsApp to my wife, playing WhatsApp, and you're like, no. But it was
a smart speaker we have in the office right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Google Assistant we already know that Wear OS is going to be a much bigger focus on that, and yeah, I think that integration that's the dream, really, isn't it? That you can have all of your devices working like that. Yeah. Whether we see Alexa or anything come into Wear OS smartwatches, probably not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, Google Assistant is going to be the one to embrace them.
Cool. We've kind of got to the end of the time that we normally spend on things. We've not got any more new questions in the comments, so I think it feels like a good time to wrap it up.
Cool. Yeah. If you want to know anything more about the Pixel Watch, as I say, head to Tech Radar, Google Pixel Watch in the search bar, and you'll find it. Also, we've got an article on Wear OS, we've got an article on the Samsung Gear S4. Everything we've talked about today, basically, you'll find there.
Yeah. Thanks.